Deep in Portland's mossy forest, a ruined stone building hides whispers of the past, and at night, painted faces and shadowed figures dance a ritual that turns legend into reality. Locals call it the Witch's Castle. Moss-covered stone walls rise from the undergrowth like the bones of something half-remembered, a ruin with no roof, no doors, and far too many stories. This deep in the forest, you assume only a witch could have lived here. Some say it's haunted by a woman wronged, others by the shadow of old crimes. But before it was ever called witches, it was something else entirely, a house, a spring shelter, a relic of early Portland life, and, perhaps, a warning about what happens when memory itself turns into folklore. To reach it, you follow a winding trail through Forest Park, crossing Balch Creek on a stone bridge built nearly a century ago. The air is damp with cedar and the ghosts of old industry. This land once belonged to Danford Balch, one of the city's earliest settlers. In 1850, Balch claimed this area as his homestead. He built a cabin here, not far from where the ruin stands today, but his story ended badly. In 1859, Balch was hanged, the first legal execution in Portland's history, for murdering his daughter's husband. Some say the curse began there. The stone building that remains, however, has nothing to do with that grim event. It was built nearly a century later, in the 1930s, by the city's Parks Bureau, a comfort station, a ranger's shelter, perhaps a rest stop for families hiking through the park. But in time, the structure fell into disrepair. Vandals, teenagers, and storytellers claimed it next. Graffiti filled the walls. The roof collapsed. And what had once been a civic project of the Great Depression became a place of midnight dares and whispered legends. And then the stories began. One man, a park maintenance worker in the 1970s, claimed he saw a woman in a long, tattered dress standing in one of the empty windows as he approached the site at dawn. When he called out, she turned and vanished. Later, he said her eyes looked hollow, like she was trying to remember who she was. In the 1990s, a group of high school students held a late-night party at the castle. They swore that a stone shifted by itself from one wall to another and that they heard whispering in the trees, calling out names none of them recognized. When they fled down the trail, they said the voices followed until the sound of Balch Creek drowned them out. Even more recently, a woman hiking alone said she saw two shadowy figures near the ruin. One tall, one small, more walking hand in hand. She didn't learn until later that the Balch murder had involved a father and his daughter's young husband. In recent years, the castle has also become a stage for Portland's alternative youth. Visitors have reported seeing people dressed in goth attire, their faces painted stark white, performing ritual-like dances in the clearing. They move in slow, deliberate patterns, circling the mossy walls, hands raised as if tracing invisible sigils in the air. Some chant softly, others beat small drums. The performance, known locally as the seyonce, blends devotion, theatrics, and dare, a fleeting, almost spectral presence. By the time anyone approaches, the performers are gone, leaving only footprints, faint echoes, and the occasional smudge of black paint on the stone walls. Every city has a place like this, an accidental monument where history, neglect, and imagination meet. An artifact not made of bronze or porcelain, but of rumor. Yet even ruins like this hold secrets worth studying. The stonework, hand-cut by WPA stonemasons, reveals the city's ambition during the 1930s when Portland sought to build beauty from hardship. The mortar still bears traces of the sand dredged from the Willamette River. It is, in its way, an antique more, not of gold or mahogany, but of civic hope. And like many antiques, it tells a story that's half truth, half dream. And there's something else creaked, a layer of graffiti beneath the modern spray paint, carved deep into one of the inner walls. The letters are faint but clear, EB 1907. The date alone is a mystery. It shouldn't be here. There was no stone building then, no foundation to carve into. Yet the mark looks old, smoothed by decades of rain. At dusk, when the mist rolls through the trees, you can almost hear the city breathing beyond the hill's ruin and the voices that cling to these stones. Not witches, perhaps, but the echoes of everyone who's ever needed a story to make sense of the dark. Here, in the forest, history fades into myth, and the ruin endures waiting, always, to be found again. This has been Antiques Mysteries. Every artifact, even a ruin, remembers more than it reveals. To see photos and more information about this episode, visit urbanartantiques.com.
If you like this podcast, leave a rating here or a comment at urbanartantiques.com. Thanks for listening to Antiques, Mysteries and Great Paintings.
Are your ghosts acting out, knocking over furniture, opening cabinets at 3 a.m., replaying that one embarrassing moment from 1998 on a loop?
You mean me?
Meet Dr. Specterstein, the world's first psychiatrist specializing in the emotional needs of the dearly departed. With gentle guidance and proven spectral therapies, Dr. Specterstein can help your ghosts work through their unfinished business, so they stop interfering with yours.
Then how did that haunting make you feel?
Dr. Specterstein, ghost psychiatrist. Healing the lingering, the lost, and the loudly rattling.
Remember, there are no bad ghosts, just ghosts communicating poorly.
Now accepting new patients, living or otherwise, wherever you find your spirit tonics and lightly cursed self-help books.
I feel transparent again.